Just for circuits.
Okay, hi, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
So if we could all rise and start with Amazing Grace, which is number 205 in your hymnal book. And we're going to be doing verse 1, 2, and 4. Okay. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to feel, and grace my fears relieved. How precious were that grace appear, the hour I first believed. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun.
Good morning, everyone. Great to have all of you here this morning. Want to begin by welcoming all of you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where we join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world, or as we like to say in short, to create community, find meaning, and live justly. Want to begin, as always, by welcoming all of you here today, including the sunshine that is apparently very attracted to me right now. But we welcome all of you, all of your unique beliefs and background and lifestyle and experiences and differences, and all that helps make you who you are is welcome here this morning. And then that includes those of you who are joining us in the room, whether you're a regular attendee or joining us more recently or even for the first time, as well as the many of you who are live streaming with us this morning. So good to have all of you, as well as our friends on Zoom who we'll check in with in just a moment. But first, I want to welcome Riche, officially welcome Riche, who is our new music director. So last week we got to welcome Jackie and now Riche, and two people who are incredibly excited to be here. Their excitement is unmatched by their talents. So thank you both so much for being here. We're so grateful to have both of you and all that you're going to bring do it and have brought already. So, Jackie, are you okay? The sun's liking you this morning too. Yeah. Was there was a song in there, "Bright Shining is the Sun," right? So that's why we chose that hymn this morning. It's just really, seriously, it's so good to have you. We feel not only so fortunate. We know we've gone through some changes this past couple of years, and just when we needed somebody most, it just seems like the most incredibly talented people just keep coming. So thank you. Incredibly fortunate. Thank you. Oh, let's see. I do have an announcement today. Yes. Thanks to Pam Davies, who let me know that between services and then after our second service, Audrey Burr from the House of Charity is going to be here and have tabling in the back and requesting financial help actually for their resident client program, which helps persons experiencing homelessness to transition into independent living. So you'll be able to learn more about that in between services if you want to check in with Audrey Burr and potentially help contribute to that worthy cause. All right, it is the first service, and as has become our tradition as very recently, is we have a dog truth to share at the start of our service. We haven't let the folks who come to the second service know about this, so keep it quiet. But let's see, there was one here I kind of liked today. It says, it's from unknown or somebody who didn't want to put their name to this one. It says, if aliens saw us walking our dogs and picking up their poop, who would they think is in charge? Okay. Good point. I'll check that one off. Okay, I do want to turn now to our friends on Zoom. Oh yeah, there were just a couple of folks on there when I checked in earlier. Looks like they're popping in and say hello to everyone. Looks like since Terry Anderson is the first square, I'm guessing that you are the host today, Terry. How are you? Oh, you're muted, Terry.
Well, I'm quite well, and now embarrassed that I don't even know how to work my own mute button. But yeah, it's fun to see that we have 12, 13 of our regulars here. So it's nice to see old friends again who it seems like you've all survived a Thanksgiving weekend, and I'm glad that you made the time to come to share with us.
Yeah, well, it is great to have everyone. So now, Terry, help us educate those of us who don't know as much about Canada as we should, who are here in the States. You also have a Thanksgiving, but it's a different date than ours is, if I remember correctly. Is it celebrated differently?
Yes, it's a regular holiday, a 3-day over a long weekend. And if we were to celebrate, or bringing in the vegetables, well, as I said earlier, it's 20. It was 26 below. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. I think it's about -8 or something like that. So all our vegetables would be frozen, and we're much more into winter kind of thinking than Thanksgiving harvest time. So that's why they moved it up to accommodate the physical conditions up here.
Ah, okay. Very good. Well, we're thankful that all of you are here, as always, joining us for our morning service. So we look forward to continuing to be with you all this morning. Again, thanks to everyone for being here. And let's take a couple of seconds, as also our custom at the start of our service, to greet one another. All right, more opportunity to visit with one another during our social period following our service, so please do stay around for that. But we're going to move forward now by lighting our chalice, the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
For our opening reflection, I offer the words of American journalist and winner of the Pulitzer Prize, Isabel Wilkerson. This discussion of dehumanization is from her book, Caste: The Origins of Our Discontent. Dehumanize the group, and you have completed the work of dehumanizing any single person within it. Dehumanize the group, and you have quarantined them from the masses you choose to elevate, and have programmed everyone, even some of the targets of dehumanization, to no longer believe what their eyes see, to no longer trust their own thoughts. Dehumanization distances not only the out-group from the in-group, but those in the in-group from their own humanity. It makes slaves to groupthink of everyone in the hierarchy. A caste system relies on dehumanization to lock the marginalized outside of the norms of humanity so that any action against them is seen as reasonable.
Let's rise and sing together. There's a river flowing in my soul, which is 1007 in your hymn notebook.
All right, we're now going to kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds this morning, and want to begin, as we have been, on behalf of the people of Ukraine and Russia and that region of the world that are suffering from the war and violence there, as well as the people of Israel and Palestinian people, Iranian people, Lebanon, Beirut, and so many in that region of the world that are suffering from the violence there. I didn't receive any special requests for candles this week, but let's take our usual moment of silence on behalf of those that you might be thinking of, and you're always welcome to name them aloud if you wish. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. And we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which helps sustain this community and our mission to the larger world.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're always saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I've heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere to myself, what a wonderful world. If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't
Wow. Thank you so much. God, that was amazing. So Batman and Robin just lost the title. You are now the dynamic duo. Absolutely. Wow. You were wonderful together. They're just beautiful. Thank you both. Yeah. All right. Children's story or story for all ages. So since you're Count, I've got something prepared for us this morning, I hope. Oh, it's a familiar face. Look who it is. Who is it, by the way? Who's come to join us? Do you want to say? Well, why don't you take a guess? Well, let's see. You have a goofy hat. Thanks. Don't let it go to my head. All right, and you're wearing some pretty goofy colors, which proves I'm not just a figment of your imagination. Okay, that's true, and you've got some really goofy hands. 4 fingers means I can count all the way to 8. Okay, very good. So this must mean that you're goofy. How'd you guess? Well, I'm only kidding. I'd recognize you anywhere, Goofy. You're one of my favorite characters. Oh, gosh, gee, you're one of my favorite characters, too. Well, all right, I'll leave it at that. So I'm told that you, let's see. No, so I'm told, but since you're here, I see. I'm told that I'm a character. Sorry, reading the script here.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh. Which one of us is Goofy now? Okay. Well, I've always wondered a couple of things about you is really what I'm getting at. Well, that makes 2 of us. I see, all right. So I hope you don't mind me asking. Well, that still makes 2 of us. I haven't asked it yet. Well, I think the thing that a lot of us want to know, Goofy, is are you a cow or are you a dog? Well, neither. I'm just Goofy. Well, I guess that's my main question, really. You see, today we're going to be talking a little bit about tolerance. Well, they are really short, aren't they? What's that? Ants. They're tiny little creatures. No, not taller ants. I said tolerance. It means being kind and respectful towards those that you might think look a little different or act a little different than ourselves. Well, like a tall ant, tall enough to play basketball? No, don't. Get your mind off of ants. I'm talking about you, Goofy. Well, I told you, I'm not a cow or a dog or an ant. I'm just Goofy. Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Do you ever mind being called Goofy? Well, heck no, that's my name. What else would I be called? I mean, it's kind of an insulting name, though, isn't it? Nope, it's a Goofy name. Well, so you're never offended by people calling you Goofy. I'd wear goofy clothes, don't I? You do. And I sound kind of goofy, don't I? Well, that's true. I'd agree with that. And I look goofy, too, don't I? Well, if you don't mind me saying so, yes, you do. And everything I do is goofy. That's true. No doubt about that. Well, then I'm Goofy, through and through. Well, you know what? I guess that's why really you're my favorite Disney character, Goofy. Mine too. In fact, you love being Goofy, and I think that's what makes you unique and why we love you. Well, golly gee, I'd better go before that goes to my head. Then I wouldn't have any place to put my hat. Well, you have somewhere else to go, do you? I sure do. I'm going to go goof off. All right, Goofy, thank you for coming. and for being yourself. Thank you.
For today's meditation, I invite you into a state of repose. Make yourselves comfortable. Close your eyes if you like, and breathe slowly and deeply and mindfully. Reflect on the words of best-selling author and policy advocate Heather McGhee, the author of The Sum of Us: What Racism Costs Everyone and How We Can Change It. I'm fundamentally a hopeful person because I know that decisions made the world as it is, and that better decisions can change it. Nothing about our situation is inevitable or immutable, but you can't solve a problem with the consciousness that created it.
Lightning crashes, a new mother cries. Her placenta falls to the floor. The angel opens her eyes. The confusion sets in before the doctor can even close the door. Lightning crashes, an old mother dies. Her intentions fall to the floor. The angel closes her eyes. The confusion that was hers belongs now to the baby down the hall. Feel it coming back again, like a rolling thunder chasing the wind, forces pulling from the center of the earth again. I can feel it. Lightning crashes, a new mother cries. This moment she's been waiting for. Pale blue colored eyes. the center of the earth again. I can feel it. I can feel it. From the center of the earth again, I can feel it. Oh, and I can feel it coming back again, like a rolling thunder, chasing the wind, forces pulling from the center of the earth again. I can feel it. Ooh, I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it.
Thank you both so much again. So it's difficult to fully understand what day-to-day life was like for our hunter-gatherer ancestors. As historian Yuval Harari says, 5 million to 8 million foragers who populated the world on the eve of the agricultural revolution were divided into thousands of separate tribes with thousands of different languages and cultures. What we do know is that they were made up of small clans and tribes, some of which may have rarely, if ever, encountered other humans. So it would have been difficult for them to understand and trust strangers. Some of them may have become friendly and lived in cooperation. Some may have been threatened or threatening, resulting in hostility and violence. In their tiny worlds, anything different or unknown could be deadly. There was safety in sticking to the tried and the true, to being creatures of habit, which meant avoiding strangers and anything else that seemed unfamiliar. And that's an interesting word, unfamiliar. It means not family. And our primitive ancestors needed to stay away from anyone who was not family. When they encountered others, they may have recognized that they were similar beings, but they had no understanding of what a species is, or of DNA, or that all people are genetically related. Homo sapiens evolved to think of people as divided into us and them, Harari says. Us was the group immediately around you, whoever you were, and them was everyone else. This instinctive mistrust of those we are unfamiliar with persist today, including the archaic and disproven idea of race that was developed in 1824 by Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, the founder of zoology and anthropology. Blumenbach classified 5 different human races based on skin pigmentation: black, brown, red, yellow, and white. By measuring and comparing the craniums of these various races, as he put it, he also believed that he was able to rank each race by its intelligence. And Blumenbach's bad science was something that many people accepted as fact, especially white people, who just so happened to be the smartest according to his findings. It wasn't much later, in 1859, that Darwin introduced the theory of natural selection, the more substantive scientific idea that all humans evolved from a common ancestor and are related. 6 years later, Gregor Mendel, in 1865, published his findings while experimenting with plants, establishing the science of inheritance and genetics. Only 4 years later, in 1869, Swiss chemist Friedrich Miescher was the first to discover nucleic acid, an important step in determining the structure of DNA that was discovered by James Watson and Francis Crick as recently as 1953. So we now know that the idea of race is a fiction. Yet we still speak of it as if it's real, just as we still say the sun rises and sets, even though we know it's really the earth that's turning, not the sun. And if it's not the illusion of race that we use to divide the human family into us and them, it's something else, like what nation we're from, what side of the border we're on, what religion we believe, what political party we belong to, what kind of economy we prefer, what identity group we claim to be part of. Yet we know that we're one species. We know this. We're one species, one human family living on one small planet, that there's more, one small planet, and that we have far more in common with each other than not. In addition to being so closely related genetically that there's more genetic difference between two chimpanzees living in the same troop than there are any two human beings living on Earth. These days, we're also part of one global community. We have a global economy, global banking system, global businesses and companies and employment, global communications, global courts and laws, global education, global science and medicine, a global supply chain, as well as global challenges like war, pandemics, pollution, and climate change. We share all of this in common as one global human family, yet we still haven't implemented a universal Declaration of Human Rights, even though we've had one ready to go since 1948. Its very first article states, "All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights." All human beings. Yet too many of us still think and behave as if we're hunter-gatherers, thousands of separate tribes with thousands of different languages and cultures. There's a saying about horses that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. That's usually used in reference to humans. And this is based on the fact that some horses won't drink unfamiliar water. When transporting horses, equestrians often have to bring gallons of water from home with them for this reason. Horses can be innately wary of unfamiliar water, as innately wary of unfamiliar water as humans can be unfamiliar with unfamiliar people. Heliocentric notions of the solar system, for instance, have been around since 270 BCE and were revived by Copernicus in 1543 and popularized by Galileo in 1633. Yet today, again, we speak of the sun as if it revolves around us, as if our little world is at the center of the universe, rather than speaking of earth sets and earth rises. Worse, we still speak of race as if it were a reality. 200 years past the Enlightenment when genetic science was born. In these cases, we say what we say is so about horses probably would be best translated to mean you can lead a person to reason, but you can't make them think. This isn't to say that all people are incapable of reasoning and seeing themselves as global citizens, members of a single human family. As the great troubadour of humanity, John Denver, once explained, "I'm a global citizen, And I've created that for myself, and I don't want to step away from it. I want to work in whatever I do towards a world in balance, a world that creates a better quality of life for all people. This resulted in songs containing lyrics like, "Why are you calling this the third world? I only know that it's my world. Maybe someday it can be our world." Can you imagine one world? One world from his song, One World. And there's a man who is my brother, I just don't know his name, but I know his home and family because I know we feel the same. And it hurts me when he's hungry and when his children cry. I too am a father, and that little one is mine. Denver worked to make his vision a reality, but no more so than the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. As he wrote in his letter from a Birmingham jail in 1963, "We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." King's dream of a better world for all of us, was rooted in the same universalistic notion of our common humanity. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day little black boys and girls will be holding hands with little white boys and girls. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they're not judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. During his 1965 commencement speech at Oberlin College, Dr. King pointed out that before most of us leave for work in the morning, we've been assisted by people across the globe. Our towels and soap, our coffee and tea, our toast and our toaster are all made from people given to us from all over the planet. And before you finish eating breakfast in the morning, you've depended on more than half the world, he said. This is the way our universe is structured. This is its interrelated quality. We aren't going to have peace on earth until we recognize this basic fact of the interrelated structure of our reality. This universalistic understanding of human relatedness is why I attended the Singularity University in 2018, a school of thought dedicated to making the world far better for everyone than it's ever been. For everyone. As its director, Will Weissman, said at the start of its 2019 annual summit, "I'm here because, like so many of you, I believe in my core that an abundant world is possible in a not too distant future, and I want to do everything I can to help bring that to fruition. To me, that looks like a world where we feed everyone, where we educate everyone, where we shelter everyone, a world where people feel safe and they feel they have a fair shot at living a good life, a world where there are mechanisms to help curb our deficiencies and overcome our most base impulses." As its founder, Peter Diamandis, often says, this mindset is about using our wits and our creativity to improve life for the whole of humanity. Rather than a future of dog eat dog, he says, I see a world of increasing abundance, a world where we can actually imagine uplifting humanity using technology to meet the needs of every man, woman, and child. This principle of universal human dignity is also what attracts me, like a lot of us here, to Unitarianism. It's the starting point of liberal religion, of liberalism. And is the reason that ours was the first religion in human history to establish a law protecting religious freedom, the Edict of Torda, in 1568. Because of the budding Renaissance idea that all people, no matter what they believe, ought to be treated with respect and dignity. This was So no matter their status, whether they were Catholic or Protestant, Christian or Muslim, native or foreign, rich or poor, king or citizen. In his international best-selling book, In Defense of the Enlightenment, philosopher and historian Tzvetan Todorov includes an entire chapter entitled Universality, which begins by recognizing the fact that all human beings belong to the same species and that consequently they have the same right to dignity. It's the first line on universality. We're all part of the same species and therefore have the same right to dignity. Yet he adds that this imperative takes on a different meaning if we think of it in terms of the citizens of a country or the inhabitants of planet Earth. Human dignity must, by definition, be predicated upon its universality. It cannot be confined to the people of one nation any more than to one tribe or to one person. To be human dignity, and not just American dignity or tribal dignity, it must apply to all people of all groups everywhere. Such universality, on the other hand, includes the people of all nations and of any group. It doesn't leave them out. But it cannot belong to us and not to them, to insiders but not outsiders. Human dignity further shifts the goal of ethical behavior to achieving human welfare and individual fulfillment, rather than obeying religious and secular laws. Kant, as you've often heard me say, was the first to articulate it by suggesting that no person should be treated as a means to somebody else's ends, but should be considered an end within themselves. Violating this principle is what makes Israel's response to the horrors of January 6 such a tremendous evil. Because in order to achieve its goal of eliminating Hamas, it has considered the suffering and killing of innocent Gazans, real human beings, mostly women and children, no more than a means to its own ends. Of course, the U.S. has had a history of similar behavior, as evidenced by its wars in Vietnam and Iraq and Afghanistan. There are plenty of examples of how this principle has been violated around the world throughout history, including in our post-Enlightenment modern time. From this first principle, human dignity, which must be obvious conditions for such dignity: freedom, reason, and tolerance. Simply put, freedom means being able to speak for ourselves. Reason means being able to think for ourselves. And tolerance means being free to participate in all the rights and benefits of society, regardless of what we say, what we think, what we look like, or where we're from. Free to go about our lives without prejudice. Tolerance is thus, to me, the most valuable mechanism for achieving human dignity. And some argue that it just doesn't go far enough, that we must love one another and strive to understand each other and to fully embrace our differences. What a wonderful world that would be if it were possible. But how could it be, and why should it be? How, with more than 8 billion people in the world, can any single person possibly understand where every single other person is coming from? Why would I want to embrace ideas and customs I consider fundamentally false or even detrimental to human welfare and progress? Must I embrace the perspective of flat earthers? Must I embrace Donald Trump's lies about Haitians eating our pets? Must I study and embrace all the religions of the world? or philosophies of the world, or beliefs of the world, or conspiracy theories of the world. If creating a peaceful world in which all people are treated with dignity requires us to understand and embrace hundreds of millions of ideas and ways, then we are doomed. But if we all accept that every person should be tolerated based upon the principle of human dignity, on the basis that they are human beings, then it should not matter what they believe, or what country or culture they come from, or how they might differ from our own. We can take one look at them and know all we need to know. As for love, if by love we mean the humanistic ethic that requires, no matter who they are, then tolerance remains more than enough for us to love one another. Because love isn't a sentiment, it's a way of being. We don't have to like everyone, we don't have to agree with everyone, understand everyone, because they are human beings and therefore deserve to be treated with dignity. And this means no matter them to speak, to think, and to freely go about their lives without prejudice, enjoying the same rights as we enjoy belong to everyone, including especially those we may vehemently disagree with. Understanding everybody or embracing everybody. Who has the bandwidth for that? If in the process we learn to befriend and to genuinely love some of them and come to better understand and maybe even embrace them and their ideas, fantastic. Maybe even have our own minds changed because there's better ideas out there. Wonderful. But let's concentrate on getting the tolerance part down first. After nearly 5 centuries since the Edict of Torda, let's make it happen. To do so, and to begin to wrap up, I think it's important to understand some of the common logical fallacies that get in the way of our seeing the dignity of those with whom we dislike or with whom we are dislike. Usually when we say we dislike someone, that's really what we mean. We dislike them. In last week's sermon, I quoted Twilight Zone creator Rod Serling, who said, "I happen to think the singular evil of our time is prejudice. It is from this evil that all other evils grow and multiply." From a humanistic perspective, rooted in the humanistic ethic requiring us to work for human good, prejudice is the mindset that prevents us from recognizing the humanity of others, and that excuses us to then deny their worth and their dignity. This is obviously true of racism, but even the slightest differences, and skin color is just that, a slight difference, can give rise to prejudice. This is why I believe that Donald Trump's promise to make America great again at the expense of people elsewhere in the world is doomed to failure, because it is not based on the reality of universal humanity. That we are, as Dr. King said, caught in an inescapable network of mutuality tied in a single garment of destiny. You can't pull one thread without affecting the whole garment. We cannot make one people great without working to make all people great, because one people is really all there is. We must rather, as Diamanda says, work to create a world of abundance that uplifts every man, woman, and child on the planet. We must work to make every nation great. So that's the first fallacy, the fallacy of us and them. disproven by the science of Darwin, Mendel, Watson, and Crick. Every person on this planet, no matter what they look like, where they are from, or what they believe, is human and thus deserves to be treated with dignity. Take one look at anybody, and you will see all you need to know. Another fallacy excusing indignity is called the fallacy of composition. In technical terms, which you don't have to worry about, but I'll state it anyway, the fallacy of composition occurs when the qualities attributed to individual members of a class are attributed to the class as a whole. So, for example, if as Trump has done, we take the criminal activities of a very small percentage of immigrants and conclude that all immigrants are criminals, then we wrongly demonize most immigrants and justify treating them like criminals. That's the fallacy of composition. This example also illustrates a fallacy of confusing a correlation for a cause, right? Just because a criminal happens to be an immigrant doesn't mean they're a criminal because they're an immigrant. Most immigrants are not criminals, and most criminals are not immigrants. It's bad thinking. But look how many people get caught up in it. Closely related to the fallacy of composition is the fallacy of division, which is conversely occurs when we take the qualities attributed to the class as a whole and then attribute them to its individual members. Take, for example, male and female stereotypes. If we think men are generally masculine, driven, and tough, we might question the manhood of a male who isn't. Or if we think women are generally maternal, nurturing, and selfless, we might judge and even dislike women who don't know their place. Another fallacy used to justify prejudice is the straw man argument. And this is when one, not wishing to address the argument at hand, subtly shifts to another weaker argument that can be more easily handled. For example, upon questioning Israel's indiscriminate killing of tens of thousands of innocent civilians, we often hear it said, Israel has a right to defend itself. Straw man argument. Of course it does. Few, if any, have said it doesn't. But defending itself does not mean wiping out everyone who stands between Israel and its goal. It doesn't mean Netanyahu's government can treat innocent people as a means to his own ends. That's a different argument. Because Palestinians are human beings, they must be considered an end within themselves instead of having their precious lives brought to a permanent end. Scapegoating may be the fallacy most often used for justifying prejudice and is precisely what Hitler, his Nazi regime, and many other countries were doing around the world regarding the Jewish people, leading to the most cold-blooded genocide in human history. It occurs when we want to avoid taking responsibility for our own problems and falsely blame them on somebody else. A lesser-known fallacy is the Latin phrase to quoque, which means you too. It's what happens when we justify treating someone with indignity by blaming them for doing the same thing we're doing. Children often defend themselves in this way, right? He started it. She said it first. But it can be extremely troubling when adults justify cruelties and inhumanities against others by saying, everybody does it, or they do the same thing. George W. Bush's preemptive strike against Iraq was partly based on this kind of thinking. Strike them before they strike us. It just blamed them for doing the same thing before they could have actually done the same thing. And I don't want to leave out the fallacy of affirming the consequent. To illustrate, again, if we agree that misogynists are males, then conclude that John is a misogynist because he's a male, we've committed this fallacy. It's like saying rainbows contain the color purple, the bouquet contains the color purple, therefore the bouquet is a rainbow. Yet this is a very common way of thinking and leads to lots of prejudice. It's the fallacy of the thinking of some on the left nowadays who claim that all white people must be white supremacists on the basis of being white, or that all white people are privileged on the same basis. I've taken the time to point out these fallacies because as we move more deeply into the 21st century, soon to have reached the 25-year mark of a new millennium, we need to promote a more reasonable approach to the future and to establishing the kind of peaceful and prosperous world humanity has been longing for far too long. We need to purge ourselves of the bad thinking that leads to prejudice against our fellow human beings and learn to see our common humanity and the dignity that goes along with it in the faces of every person on the planet. Prejudice in favor of humanity is the only prejudice we can tolerate. No matter what else you may know or not know about them, when it comes to dignity, just take one look at any other human being and you will see all you need to know. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm sorry, we're going to get this fixed next week, I promise, but the holidays kind of messed us up getting our order of service back in order. So the order of service for the past few weeks has switched the closing song with the benediction. So we're going to have our closing song to help.
Great. So
Yeah.
let's all, yeah.
Yeah, very good enough.
Okay, cool. Let's all
Makes sense.
rise.
Next
and
week
sing.
I won't have to do this. I promise.
That's okay. Let's all rise and let's sing We Shall Overcome. And it's 169 in your hymnal book, but I think you probably know it. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday.
For our benediction, I offer the words of the late Nelson Mandela, South African anti-apartheid activist and politician. For to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.
Oh, thank you. Huh? Yeah, like, yeah, get like a little visor or something, golf visor. Oh
You
no.
know, the black pianist, you know, he always would blind, he always has.
Yeah, like, is it Thelonious Monk? Like, he wore the glasses and he had the hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, he always wore a hat, yeah, I remember the hat. Yeah. It's a good idea.
You feel a lot better, because I didn't feel a lot better.
Hi, thank you so much for your beautiful work.
Thank you so much.
What's your name?
I'm Jackie.
Hey, Jackie, I'm Barbara.
Nice to meet you,
Nice
Barbara.
to meet you too.
I love your sweater.
I love your hair. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. It was so beautiful. I loved the performance. It was just so, it was playing just really, bring yourself into it, and I could just really see it coming through you. And then you were still tuned into her too, like waiting for everyone to be singing with you, playing with her. The two together is beautiful, but I really enjoyed it.
I think you're really, I really appreciate
Me
it.
too.
No, I'm really happy. Thank you so much.
I love them. They're so cute.
Oh,
My God.
these are-
Oh,
yeah, they've got the, they turn into the,
I know. This, it, yeah. These are not gloves. These are mittens, but they're as warm as gloves.
they're almost.
almost. Well, actually,
Like a
these are
halfway
mittens. These are gloves. What do you call them?
I don't even know.
If you mix a glove with a mitten, I don't know.
I've never thought about it, but they have to have a name for them.
Yes.
They have to.
Like cut, half and half.
'Cause they, I mean, if it didn't have the mitten, it would just be fingerless gloves.
Yes. Right.
They just got the mitten on. So
Mid glove.
yeah, Mick Love, I like that.
Okay. Well,
Do you have a good Thanksgiving?
good day.
Yeah.
And hopefully the second service will be smooth.
Yeah. I'll start off those. I won't get the tempos wrong. I'm just like going fast and I'm just like, let's go. Like,
We still, we're settled. Yeah, we'll figure it out. We're settling.
just getting the. But you have everything like online.
I have it all online.
Okay. So you just have to. And like a little, have to squint.
Yeah, I'm like, well, welcome. I'm Betty.
Oh, I'm Jackie. So nice to meet you. Thank you.
Hi, Rashay. I've enjoyed you every time you've been great. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay for what we're doing. What we're doing, it works wonderful. For what we're doing, okay, when we do more, we'll talk about it. All right, but what we do is, yeah.
Yeah, we're super stoked to be here.
Yeah.
We're happy like ducks in the rain.
We're enjoying it, so great.
It's like a good full circle.
All right. We'll be enjoying it. Great, okay? All right. Yeah, because I'm just trying to have everything compatible because it's just easier. As you know, if you're a musician, and so I have that. Because I don't have to be scrolling on this.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Seriously.
Let's see if I can just print
And you're really, yeah, always fiddling with it. You can't like just lose yourself. And then,
Right.
And then there's notifications and all that.
Right.
Something just comes. I just imagine a big old notification comes right over like the line you're trying to read or something like
Right.
that. Or,
Well, I
or starts buzzing your phone right by the mic or something stupid like that. Second, so 11 or 11:15? 11, okay. What? It felt good. I'm a little, bummed out that I started the Teachers Too Fast, but other than that, it felt good to me. It's like, my critiques only have to do with myself. Oh, when you emailed me the lyrics to Wonderful World, was that from your work address or was it from the church email? Do you have a church email address yet?
That was the, yes, yeah, that was from the church.
Okay. So,
Or, maybe not, I don't know, what did it say? Did it have
I
like?
said, I don't have my phone here. Let me grab it. I need to check it anyway. Because, I still need to make out that, invoice or whatever they call it. And, so I need to,
Just wanted to tell you both so enjoy the music so much. And you too. You were already hired. I'm really good decision.
oh no, it's from roche.thomas@gmail.com. So that's your personal one? Okay.
Good for you to have that one too. I'm trying to figure out how to connect that one to your phone so I can get those emails.
Oh, right.
I have to probably go down to the Apple store.
It'd be like, yeah, it would be like two Gmail accounts work at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, lost in my thoughts. So, oh yeah, should I just email your first? Wait, so you do have you should use personal email for now until you get everything sorted out, so it's like easier, or it doesn't
Just
matter.
do both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
just do Richard
And-
Thomas and da-da-da-da and the other
And
one.
your work email is roche.thomas that it's like,
Actually,
it's
no,
the same as
I think it's just music. I think it's
music at UUSC.
Yeah, just email both of those. That way
Okay.
for sure I always get it until I can get in the flow of putting that on this phone and all the dots. So it's like I can always see it.
Right.
I'm not on my computer as much, but I'm always on the phone. I'm always there. So that way I can always be
Right.
in that flow in order to make it.
Yeah, that would be good. Good to get set up.
All right, I'm gonna have to just use my phone, I guess. Doesn't look too bad.
I mean, it could be worse, but yeah, I feel for you.